What is success mean to you, and has it evolved over time?
When I go to sleep at night, I want to feel like I've done things with integrity, that I've put in my best effort and try to put out a product and experience that I could be proud of. Yeah, one of the ways that I kind of judge this is if I walk into a room, um, what would people in that room think about Bombay Shirt Company as a brand? If they were generally positive things to say, I feel like I could be proud of myself. It's that just the feeling and the vibe around how people perceive the brand. That's my barometer for success.
Hi, and welcome to Indian Explorers. In this podcast, we talk about Indian success stories. I am Sabrina, and together with my co host Amit, we will get to understand the journey of our guests and what drives them. The optimism, patience, idealism, and courage. These are their attributes that we want to bring to life in these conversations with them. If you enjoy the show, hit the subscribe button and please share it with others. How's it going?
Hi, Sabrina. How are you doing? Good to see you.
I'm okay. Yeah, good to see you. How's it going?
See you. Good, good. It's 1st of November, another holiday in Chile. Today's the
Oh,
day,
another. I feel like you're
another
always
one.
having holidays.
Honestly, I feel the same way too. Uh, I believe the day is Dia de Santos, where you remember
Okay.
the dead. So,
Oh, yeah, that makes today, yeah, Dia de los Muertos, we call it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to look back. October has been a pretty deadly month around the world in terms of what's happening in Middle East and Ukraine, and I wanted to find out what American media and what America is focusing on. And I have two
Hmm.
dates that I want to mention: October 24th and October 25th, which I found interesting. On October
Okay.
24th, for the first time in a long time, the Reds and the Blues, i.e., the Republicans and the Democrats, reached an agreement, and 42 states sued Meta, claiming that
Yes.
Facebook and Instagram are extremely addictive for the youth, teenagers,
Hmm.
children, etc. And I was reading a little bit about what the argument was against Facebook, because I thought everybody was saying Facebook is dead, is only for oldies like me, and everyone's moved on to TikTok. So I was like, what's the argument here? And the argument is unlimited scrolling, news feeds, and likes and alerts buttons that are dopamine effects. I was like, okay, if that's their product, if that's the reason to go after them, uh, I mean, I think it's crazy. Uh, I
Okay,
I mean,
I
does that
heard
mean you're going to go
this.
after TikTok
It
now
was
that
probably
TikTok is
October
growing?
24th or 25th that I saw this on the news. We're getting ready. Naeem
Yeah,
is headed to school, and I see this on the news, and I'm like, "S- okay, I'm an American. This is so American.
the,
Like, it's on the parents,
yeah,
not
absolutely.
these companies.
I agree. I agree. And not
So
only,
it's funny because I didn't know you were going to talk about this. And yesterday I read an article on CNN, and I'll send it to you, that says, well, I'm going to ask you this question. How many notifications, not text, but notifications on a phone does the average teenager get a day?
I'm going to go for 2 dozen.
No, way more. About 260 notifications a day. The
But
average teenager.
you choose, right, to get those notifications.
Well, they're choosing it.
I guess by
Okay, keep
default.
going.
Yeah. No. So the reason why I bring that up is because obviously mental health of children is what's
Hmm.
driving this, this case. The next 24 hours fucking later, on October 25th, what happens in America? There's a mass shooting. 18 people
Yeah,
are dead, right? And 33 injured.
in Maine. Yeah.
And again, what does everybody go after? Not the guns, but the mental health,
Hmm.
right? So everyone's
Hmm.
after mental health, and no one's really after the guns that are causing the deaths. So it just made me think again that America, many years ago, after what happened with the school shootings, I really thought America was going to have a wake up call like Australia had in their day, and and it's just not going to happen. I now know
It's not.
that to be American and this stupid Second Amendment and Constitution, even
It's
though
money.
even though I think it's ludicrous,
Yeah.
uh, it's never going to change. And correct me if I'm wrong. The argument for the right to bear arms and the Second Amendment was because of in case of a military coup, or in case of an invasion, or in case the government comes after you, you have the right to protect yourself. That's the
I
argument,
believe
correct?
so. Yeah, I believe so.
And that's an argument for people to have AK-47s and machine guns. I
Yeah,
mean,
because
it's
this shooter in Maine, who there were tips about, it was a semi-automatic again that he used,
yeah,
and this one hit a little closer to home because my husband Noel, as you know, grew for many years grew up in Maine or in out in New England, and right next to this town where it happened, his best friend still lives there, and the best friend's son lives like 10 minutes from where the shooting was. So he was just like, this one just hit way too
yeah.
close to home.
And
But you're right. I mean, we're not doing anything here. I mean, the news isn't even covering it as much anymore. It's
yeah.
it's like mainstream now.
But just to be fair, in America, every country has that issue. In India, I would say it's the amount of
In
women getting
India,
raped, not
okay, you
guns.
mean a different issue, a
Yeah,
different,
In India,
yeah,
it's rape. In Chile, where I
yeah,
live, it's robbery. This
yeah.
week on the newspaper, there was, there's robberies happening every half an hour here, but there was in the newspaper a specific case of someone important. Their house got, mugged into, and they actually caught the two guys. And what struck me was that the guy that they caught, he was 35 years old, and he took with him a 15-year-old with him, right? But that's not the worst thing. The worst thing was that 35-year-old had been incarcerated 27 times before for the same crime, right? So
What?
you have a no, it's not even funny. I mean, that's what's happening here, right? So people who steal from my stores and kiosks, even when they're caught, they
They're
laugh
repeat
and they say, "We'll
offenders.
see you tomorrow." And the next day,
Yeah,
they're back in the mall walking around.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I know Americans have too many people incarcerated, but then you have countries like Chile where there are not enough jails for the people who should be incarcerated. So
I
uh,
thought we were gonna have like a lighter conversation today.
my point being is I don't want to be too harsh on America. You got to understand that every country's culture is different,
Of
and
course.
it's kind of engraved. And I don't
Hmm.
see Chile improving in terms of robbery and thefts because they're not doing anything about it, and
Hmm.
America is not doing anything about guns.
Look,
So
the NRA, the National Rifle Association, has so much money, so much power, so much control. It's not going to change. I mean, it's going to take a miracle to make some changes here when it comes to gun control. But you're right. Every country has, you know, their issues. Some have more than others. I do love this country. I wouldn't want to move anywhere else, but it's heartbreaking.
yeah, I
Yeah.
I want to say something in favor of Meta and Facebook.
Okay.
Um, I use it. I love it. It's my birthday calendar. I
Mm-hmm.
wish, I think 500 to 1,000 people a year happy birthday thanks to it. Without
Yeah.
it, there's no way I'd remember people's birthdays. I love seeing the photographs of people. There are
So
people
do
I'm
I.
not in touch with. Uh, just this morning, I saw Ravi Jangimal, who you and I both know from
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Miami. Beautiful family. They're all dressed up in Paw Patrol
It's
uniform
awesome.
for Halloween. It made me smile. It made
Yeah.
me a small giggle, and it made me happy.
Yeah.
So, and then whenever someone has a baby or something happens,
I
I
love
think,
I love Facebook too, and
yeah,
Instagram and social media. I think it's on, if you're an adult, it's on you to have those controls, and if it's your child, limit it.
yeah. And also think about it. Apart from Facebook, which is a social media, you have LinkedIn, which has helped millions of people get jobs. You have TikTok, which for me today is the number one source of news. I even have DM'd people on TikTok, and actually I consider them friends now. I respect them because of the relationships we've created. So it's
Yeah,
new
yeah,
relationships. I then use social media as well to Google something that I might not want other people to know about, and I
yeah,
connect through them through those communities. So all in all, I think social media for me has been a plus. It's helped me, and
yeah.
uh, and what I do is I have like a time limit on Instagram. If I spend more than 10 minutes in a day, it pops up that hey, you've
So
spent
do
10
I.
minutes in the
I have
day,
a time limit on mine.
and I switch it off. In fact,
You know,
yeah,
no, go ahead, go ahead.
I was going to say, out of all the social medias, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, I don't use Snapchat and Tinder, but for me, Instagram is the new day Playboy. I mean, if I go to my search on Instagram, there's more cleavage than in Copacabana Beach.
But
It's
that's because
ridiculous.
that's what you're looking at. And it
What,
shows what, no, just kidding. You know what I think it is?
what
I
is
think
it?
you're not
Because
using it enough and it knows your
age,
demographic. Like it knows you're a male in your 40s and
yeah. So over here,
so it's like, well, let's show him what he thinks. It's like Ronaldo and
no.
cleavage. That's what
So,
you're getting.
so over here, I get my friends. So Gotham's foods, and
Okay, but
I get business stuff. But
in the search one.
if I click on the search one, all I see is, I mean, I think you can see, right?
Yeah. It's because you're a
It's
man in your, it's two reasons. You're a man in his 40s that hardly uses Instagram, or you're already looking at cleavage, so it's showing you more cleavage.
if I did, I blame Emily Ratajkowski and Mila Kunis.
See?
But that wasn't. I mean, looking at a couple of famous actresses does not give
It depends which
anybody the right.
actresses. Yeah. Were you
Pardon?
looking at Meryl Streep or Emily? Like, whatever.
You know what it should give me for what I look at? It should give
Hmm.
me people of Israel, Hamas, and Palestinians. That's what it
I
should give
know.
me for the amount I'm
Yeah.
Googling that. But anyway, I just this whole mental health thing and the hypocrisy of not focusing on guns and going after a successful American run company by Mark Zuckerberg, who is hated for some reason. I think he's
That's
amazing.
just not taking accountability. That's all that is, putting the blame on someone else. But, I think in another episode, you and I need to talk about mental health because I feel like, we have
Yeah.
a
I
lot
think
of different
let's bring
opinions
on
when it comes
people
to
who
it.
know more about us than mental health. Let's call in.
Yeah.
This is a call out to Indians around the
Yeah.
world who are experts in
Maybe a
mental health.
psychologist, psychiatrist,
Yeah,
professor,
or anybody
someone
who
like
knows
that.
more than us. So, that's
That's most.
a big population. All right, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you. Let's bring on the guest, Sabrina.
Today we have a special guest, Akshay Narvekar, the founder of Bombay Shirt Company, India's first online custom-made shirt brand. Launched in 2012, the business has now expanded to include 17 brick and mortar stores across India and even one in Midtown, New York. He worked in strategy and operations at LA-based BCBG Max Azria, but returned to India to follow his passion and launch Bombay Shirt Company. Today, the brand sells not just shirts, but custom sized jeans, chinos, dress pants, stretch pants, t shirts, and so much more. And we want to learn everything that happened in between all this. So, hi, Akshay. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you guys too, and thanks for having me.
Of course. Thanks for making time for us.
Hi, Akshay. Long time.
How are you, Amit?
Long time.
It has been a while, yeah?
So, Sabrina, I know Akshay, I think for about 8 years in a row, we would
Okay.
wake up at 6:30, 6:45 in the morning on Sunday morning. We would not go out on Saturday night and party. And Akshay and I would play football with 20 other friends of ours. And the dedication these guys had to play football was really amazing. Do you remember those good days, Akshay, or you still play?
I do. We still play actually. Instead of Sunday, it's now Saturday, but the time remains the same. Getting older, and so the games are a little bit more infrequent, but yeah, still playing.
The game's
It's awesome.
infrequent. Is the game slower or just as fast?
It's definitely not as fast, no. It actually slowed down once Amit left, so
That's
I
nice
yeah,
of
actually
you.
it got progressively worse.
I actually found the skill level, because I was there for 9 years. I found the skill level of the youth in India is improving rapidly. When is India going to make the World Cup, Akshay? Not win it. When are they going to make it?
Make it.
I would say in the late 2030s. I don't remember what that date looks like now, but it's
Oh,
going to be the late 2030s.
well, that's
Not too
around the
far.
corner.
Because we're playing with kids today, right? So a lot of the guys we play with are in their early 20s, late
Yeah,
teens even,
yeah,
and the quality is just a different level.
yeah.
So I feel like, yeah, it's not too far away.
Oh,
Maybe three,
fantastic.
4 World Cups away.
Okay,
I hope
that's awesome.
so.
Yeah, me too.
That'd be
Yeah.
great.
But if India plays Spain, I'm going for Spain, Sabrina.
I mean, when Spain's there and US is there, gosh, it's like tears my heart, you know?
Hmm.
But US doesn't get too far, so
Okay, let's start on Akshay's journey. Where
yeah.
should we start, Sabrina? Why don't you go ahead?
Well, so you go to school in Michigan, right? In Ann Arbor,
Mhm.
and then you're working in LA, go back to India and you decide, I want to start there. When you tell your parents who are both doctors that you're going to do your own thing and start a fashion business.
Do they laugh or
How
slap you?
yeah, how did
So
that go?
yeah, they reacted not quite as I expected. So I think from a very young age, I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, start my own business. Not necessarily in fashion, but I just always wanted to run my own business. And I think at various points in my life, I made that walk up into my parents' bedroom where I announced I was going to be an entrepreneur. And at every point, it was like, you have to do X, Y, Z things before you can get there. So it's obviously first graduate college, get a job, then get your MBA, maybe work for a few years, and then then take it from there. My parents are doctors, their parents are doctors, my brother's a dentist, so everyone in my family is a professional, right? So they come from that mindset of being in a safe space. Um, so I did pretty much everything that was asked for me. I went to college, came back, worked in the US for 5 years after that, moved back to India, did my MBA, worked for a private equity fund for a couple of years. Just that trajectory that was expected of me.
Check, check, check.
And I was 29 at the time. I was literally a few months away from turning 30, and I knew, at the bottom of my heart, if I didn't do it then, I was probably never going to do it. The stakes would have just gotten too high at that point in time, potentially got a lot more comfortable. And so I remember this day clearly. I was sitting in my bedroom. There was three friends with me. Um, and the idea of doing, what we're doing today just kind of popped up. Because I was a customer for our own product, right? So I would actually go out and tailor all my stuff at the local tailor, and it wasn't a great experience. So I went online looking for alternatives to that. I remember vividly, the friends sitting with me thought it was the most ridiculous idea in the world. Um, and maybe that's probably why I did it, right? So I
Prove
walked
them
over to
wrong.
my parents' bedroom. Yeah, walked over to my parents' bedroom across the hall. And, I told them about this idea and that I was going to quit my job and I was going to start this, expecting obviously, serious pushback. And to my surprise, they looked at me and said, yeah, go for it.
Oh, that's great.
Which, in 29 and a half years had never happened before. So
Yeah.
that's kind of when I realized I was doing it. And, honestly, that was 2011, December. And,
Okay.
haven't looked back since.
So tell us about the idea, like when you started, the capital you put in, like what were you
Yeah.
thinking of what the company and the brand was going to become as to where you are today? Are you like surprised yourself and what you've achieved in such a short time frame?
I think so. I think it started off almost as a side hustle. So I didn't initially quit my job, right? So while I was conceptualizing what we were going to be, I was still working, doing this on the weekends, after work, things like that. Um, yeah, so we started in December 2011, conceptualized the brand name. I knew at the time I wanted it to be something super simple, something that, was timeless, that would be relevant as a name, now or, 100 years down the line if we were so lucky as to be around then. Started with that, got a couple of friends together, guys who we actually played football with Amit, who did the logo, did the initial mock-ups for the website. I remember it came to you at the time because you were one of the first, guys to get into e-commerce at the time. I remember talking to you.
Gifty
Friend
out.
of ours, Simon, joined me. Exactly, yeah. And our mutual friend Simon joined me on this project. Yeah, and so started it up. It took about 6 months actually to get the website ready and do the initial groundwork. In retrospect, that was too quick. I didn't actually know anything about shirts, and I probably shouldn't have launched that soon. But I think we put together, if I'm not mistaken, 7 lakhs. So what is that? $10,000, something like
A
that.
bit more, right? Yeah.
Maybe yeah, in that range. And yeah, we got started in July of 2012. Initially thought it would be a side hustle. We get a few orders a day, and I remember distinctly telling Simon that if we did 30 orders a day, we could retire, or at least quit our day jobs, right? And so yeah, I mean we crossed 30 orders a day. I'm not retired yet, but there's still a long way to go, I think.
Well,
I
that's the
love your website.
entrepreneur in you. That's the entrepreneurism, right? You just keep having bigger goals.
Yeah, it's never enough. I think
Yeah.
one of the it's I guess it's a plus and a minus, but you're never satisfied. So
Yeah.
I'm one of those people, unfortunately, who doesn't take the time to like celebrate the small wins. I think if you ask my teammates, they'll tell you that that's not, that's probably not how it should be. But I think that's what just keeps the drive going, right? Where you're just never satisfied.
Yeah.
You just keep wanting more.
Yeah.
So,
Where are you
what?
today? Like the
Oh,
size, like just the size of the company, uh, New York store. Most people go to Dubai next instead of New York. So just tell us the journey a little bit.
Sure. So the journey's been a bit up and down in terms of COVID putting a spanner in the works.
mhm.
Pre-COVID, we were roughly 17 stores, of which we had one in New York, as you mentioned. We've moved since. We're no longer in Soho where we used to be. We're now
Okay.
midtown in more of like an office space because we just obviously couldn't afford the rents through
Yeah.
COVID. We were also in Dubai. We were at the DIFC
Mm.
all through COVID, and towards the end again, same issue. Trying to sustain those rents was just not doable.
Yeah.
So the Dubai store no longer exists. But now we're back up to 18 stores in India. We've just closed a round of funding last week, actually.
Oh,
And
congrats.
so hopefully, yeah, thank you. And hopefully that number just multiplies now, over the coming year or two. So we've got big plans for scaling across the country.
I was going to ask you, I saw a video of you that you're a minimalist when it comes to dressing. So how did you get into like an interest in fashion? I mean, this came years ago because you worked at BCBG. Like, how did this all come about?
Yeah, I'd call myself an essentialist more than minimalist.
Okay.
And so to me, even what we do, I wouldn't consider it fashion. Fashion to me is something that's ever changing, a trend that's in today, out tomorrow. And I don't think that's what we do, right? So if
Okay.
you look at the kind of stuff that we sell, it's more classic, it's more
Yeah.
evergreen. And again, it'll be there for a long time to come. So we're very clear that we're not in the fashion game. We're just in the game of being sort of timeless classics. So
Okay.
that being said, yeah, I mean, my style is minimalist in that I'm not wearing loud prints with a lot of
Yeah.
branding on it or any of that. But I like to mix and match stuff and make the most out of very little. I think that's what I find being creative means, and that's what fashion is. So how
Okay.
you can do more with less. That's where the real creativity comes in.
And it's definitely less because your closet is like small. I saw that video and I was like, he hardly has any clothes in there. But my husband's like that. Like he just, I think very similar to you. Did you
Yeah,
say an essentialist, right? I mean, you just
yeah.
what you need and then mix and match. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I think
So that
essentialist means that I'm not compromising on what I buy. So
mhm.
what I buy may, be expensive, but I'll buy just exactly what I need, but I'll buy what I think is the best
Yes.
for what I need.
Okay.
And coming to my closet, I have a rule where I've got a one in, one out program. So I'll have, let's say, 12 shirts, 10 trousers, 10 t-shirts. And if I get a new one, and I get to sample a lot of our stuff before it actually launches. So when I get a new sample, it's always one going out the other way, getting donated to somebody or um, yeah. So
So opposite
I
of a
make sure that the
woman.
space doesn't increase. Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to teach this to my wife, but she's not
No,
having it.
it's not going to happen.
Sabrina,
And
you're
any
worrying me with
just
your homework. You've done a lot of homework on this guy, huh?
of
Yeah, there
course.
seems to be a lot, lot
It's the
Yeah,
out
right
there
thing
I've
about
to
seen it.
do.
that I didn't know
A
about.
man's wardrobe is a very private thing to see, Sabrina.
Well, it's
Who gave you
funny when
access
I
to
saw
that?
your closet, I was like, so my husband's name is Noel, and I was like, that looks like Noel's closet. And I'm like, how do you guys function? But I guess it's very similar to your business where it's classic items, right?
Hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
So they can all be mixed and matched, any which way. And that, like I said, that's what the fun's about, right?
Yeah. So how
Uh,
did you, but my question is why this product? When did you say I know you were in a room with your friends, but I mean, it goes way back because you worked for a fashion line? When did it come about that, this is what I'm interested in?
And that's where the opportunity
So
is.
yeah, so shirts
Yeah.
specifically, right? So when I was thinking about this, I knew it had to be a business, like I said, where the product was timeless, like classic, where it's
Yeah.
not fashion driven, but also highly repeatable, right? Because
Okay.
if you want to grow a large business, it's not because you're selling items to new folks and they're going off to a different brand and shopping somewhere else the next time around. You're going to build a big brand because you're building something that's repeatable, where people come back every so often. It's like going to your barber, right? Get someone who knows how to cut your hair. You have no
Yeah.
incentive to switch. It also means that getting a new customer is harder because they're probably with somebody else who they're happy with. But once you do and then you make them happy, you sort of have them for
They're
life,
yours
right? And
for
so
life.
yeah, so that's the kind of business I was thinking of.
Okay.
There's obviously categories within the apparel space that are a lot more repeatable than shirts. Like you could get into underwear and socks, which you probably buy more often.
Yeah.
But I also knew that I wanted to play in a certain price point, right? So it had to be where, I didn't have to sell millions and millions of units or 2 millions and millions of orders for us to make it a sizable business. That we could do it, there's a balance between, being repeatable, but also being expensive enough where, the business is just a lot more manageable. So that's why shirts, again, like I said, I was a customer for it myself. I saw how many shirts I felt like I was buying in a year,
Yeah.
and my friends were. And again, it's one of those products where you wear it for multiple occasions. You wear it to work, you wear it out at night, you wear it out to the beach. I mean, you could wear it anywhere. So it
Okay.
just offered enough versatility within that one category. And I was very clear as well that I wanted to stick to one category and own that niche. So for the first, I think it was 7 or 8 years of the business, we only did shirts.
Shirts.
We could
Okay.
have done a lot more, obviously, and we had customers who would have bought other stuff and today are buying other stuff from us. But we didn't want to do that until we really thought we got shirts right and were known for something. It's only then, 8 years later, that we actually got into other products.
So high repeat. So
Hmm.
high repeat business, high
Yep.
retention, high AOV, have average order
Uh-huh.
value, and high margin.
Yep.
That's
Decent
the
margins, exactly.
D2C golden 4 rules.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So now let's talk about the channels, because you got physical stores and you got your online business. If you can tell
Yeah.
us the pie chart, what revenue is online versus what happens in the stores, and which
Sure.
more profitable, margin wise.
Yeah, so I'll give you the progression, right? Because over the years, the channel mix has changed. So back when we started in 2012, again, around the same time that, you were doing your e-commerce thing, all of us thought that e-commerce was the next big thing. We start, launch a website and rake in the big bucks, right?
Mine failed
And
miserably. Mine lasted 6 months.
well,
So
so mine almost did as well, right? There was
uh,
there was a point where I probably should have shut down. I was just, too bullheaded to shut down, but I probably should have. So we started off, in the early days as purely an online play, and very quickly realized that in the kind of business that we're in, where there's high touch and feel, there's measurements involved, all of that, that nobody's going to just shop online. And so, with very little capital, we had no capital in the early days. We started home visits, right, where we would send people to your house. They would measure you up, take the order, then we would manufacture it and ship it to your house. The issue there was in the early days that the experience was predicated on the guy who came to your house, right, because that was the only
yeah,
extension of the brand that the customer actually interacted with.
the
And so if that
experience.
guy was
Sure.
having a bad day, that just reflected poorly on the brand. So we did that for another, let's say, call it 6 months to a year, and it was okay. Some customers were happy, a lot of them were not, and we were spending a lot of time firefighting. The website was okay. I mean, people liked the look and feel, but were they actually transacting heavily on it? Probably not. And so we were at a crossroads where literally I had, either shut the business down and figure out something else,
Or double down.
or just figure out how to solve things, right? So we were lucky enough to raise our first round of funding around that time. It was a very small round now in comparison, but we happened, and it wasn't part of the plan actually. Our first store, which is in Kalagoda, which is now sort of a very iconic part of town to shop in here in Bombay.
I love it.
A friend of mine,
Love it.
yeah, posted a Facebook message saying, "Hey, I've got this, this space in Kalagoda for rent. Anyone interested, let me know." And I had seen that space before, and I just always thought that if I could do something in that space, we could make it really beautiful. And I literally remember driving over to him, to his cafe. He owns a cafe, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Look, I'll take it. I don't care what the rent is. I just raise some money and
Is it the
we'll
one
do
next
it."
to the coffee
And
shop on the first floor?
no, so this is on the ground floor.
Okay.
Um, yeah, just bang in the middle of Kalagoda.
Which
Back
which is
then,
the
there
one
was
I'm
not
talking
much
about?
happening there.
Which is the one I'm talking about? Where you
Oh,
cross
that's in Kemp's Corner. Yeah, that's
the
in
Kemp's
Kemp's
Corner
Corner.
one. Yeah, I went
Yeah,
there
yeah, yeah.
in Jan. Yeah, loved it.
Okay,
Beautiful stores. Beautiful.
thank you. Thank you. So I actually live across the street from there. But the Kalagoda one, yeah, was our first store. It took 6 months to actually get like pen to paper on the property because there was all we were a new company and all these
Yep.
regulations. But we finally actually did it, and the moment we did that, the fortunes of the company just changed overnight. People recognize us as a brand. We had this store experience that again, we didn't know anything about retail. We just did what we thought a store should do. So you couldn't shop in the store. It's just taking orders. There's no stock. There's very little display. It's just more an interaction between a stylist and
Yeah.
a customer. And we were just iterating. We didn't even know how POS worked, right? We were just kind of,
Yeah.
counting money
It,
and
by
like
the way,
filing it in a
it
drawer,
struck me because I went to your store on January 3rd and I was traveling on January
hmm
6th. And I walked
Yeah.
in and I loved what I saw. I loved the price points. I thought you were very reasonable. And I started the process. And then when I told them the date that I was leaving, they looked at me like, oops, sorry, sir, we can't make it in those 2 days that you're here. I was like, but this is a store. Just what stock do you have ready? And I was like, oh shit, I didn't quite get the concept. And I've been to your
Well, you should
website
have
so many
called me.
times, but I didn't realize that in the store. I didn't want to take favors for a shirt, So, but it's an interesting concept you have.
Yeah, so we did that, and it was popular very quickly. So we did that. I think we spent 9 months, and I spent a lot of my, those days in the store. So I'd be there all day, taking orders, talking to customers, and I would leave like around dinner time when the store shut, and I would go to the factory with all the orders for the day and caffeinate all my tailors with like Diet Coke. And we'd stay up all night producing the orders, and I would take them back with me to the store the next day. And we did that repeatedly for like, I think it was 9 months before we thought it was time that we open our second store, which is
Yeah.
in Bandra. Um, and so then the brand started, obviously getting a little bit of cachet. People started, knew who we were for the first time.
Yeah.
And then that kind of became the model going forward. So then we opened stores in Delhi and Bangalore, and today we're present in like 10 cities across the country. And to answer your original question, we're more an offline company than we are an online company. So
Okay.
Okay.
today, I'd
80/20.
reckon about 75-25 is the mix. But I think that ratio will continue to stay constant even as we open more stores going forward.
Okay. So you're pumping money in
Yeah.
online marketing.
No, so we're not actually. We're not. We're very conscious about wanting to be a sustainable, profitable brand. And to me, the economics of pumping in money to grow an online business for like vanity metrics, it just doesn't make sense. But because
Okay.
we've been around for a while and we've got a large transacting customer base, there are a lot of organic visitors to the site, and we do obviously do some marketing, but not enough for it to be more than 25% of the business, and we're
Okay.
comfortable with that number.
Is it that you're getting a custom shirt or custom, you know, garment? That's why people want that face to face interaction, correct? I mean, that's why, is that the sole reason you think it's 75-25?
Yeah, I think the word we use is validation. So people
Okay.
come to a store to talk to a stylist because they want validation on some of the choices that they're making, right? A lot of people, want to look good, have the means to look good, but don't necessarily have the creativity to do it or the
Mm-hmm.
confidence to do it, right? So
Okay.
you'll come there, you make some choices, and you have a stylist sitting across you, validating why that is, will look good for you or not.
The best
You have a
option.
master tailor who helps you with the measurements to make sure that you're fitted the right way. And it's always a personal preference, your fit, your style, etc. So you always
Of
want to talk to
course.
someone, and that's why I think the store concept just works a lot better than the online. I mean,
Yeah.
we've tried like virtual stylists where you can talk to somebody, on WhatsApp or
Right.
whatever, on Zoom, but I just don't think that hits the same, right, as having someone literally sitting across you. I think for a lot of people also, it's the experience, right? So you usually, very few people actually come alone. They come with family or their brothers or
Okay.
their friends, and it becomes like this communal experience. So most of our stores don't have like individual tables for customers. They're like communal tables where a bunch of people are sitting around the table. And I noticed that, by the way, in the early days in Kalagoda, that there's customers who are like interacting with each other through the experience, offering up suggestions. So it became like this communal thing, which is
Yeah.
again very new for retail at the time, right? So over the years, obviously the model has taken its dips and
Mm-hmm.
turns, and we've adapted to what customers wanted. But at the core, we just try to keep it very different from what a traditional retail experience looks like.
You think
I
you'll ever
disagree.
use virtual reality? People using the
We tried that. I
You
just feel
did.
like Yeah, we've tried like virtual measurements, so like body scanning that, but
Uh-huh.
I think technology has a long way to go on that front. I
Yes,
think,
yeah.
at this point humans can do it better.
Yeah.
And so we've not gotten into those gimmicks yet.
Yeah.
This validation argument and this, I disagree. That I think the USP is that you don't carry stock and inventory. So from a margin and a cost perspective, check on a bottom line. But more importantly, from a brand perspective, if I'm a millennial customer and I want to take care of this planet, and I look at the stock that Zara, H&M, and the amount
Yeah.
of wastage that brands like, Gucci and Louis Vuitton that don't reduce their prices and they just burn or throw things away. I think this is the future of retail. It's custom, it's tailored, it's brand conscious, and you're saving the planet. So I think
Environmentally
that's the
conscious.
I think that's the key sales point of the brand, at least. I don't know how you sell that, Akshay,
Do
but I think
you
that's
uh, do
huge.
you want to join our investor relations team?
I We'll talk about the
No, so you're
we'll
right.
talk
You're,
about
you're
off
you're
chat.
absolutely right. This is
Yeah.
the investor pitch. It's not necessarily the customer pitch, because unfortunately, a very small segment of the population actually A, gets that, or B, cares about it. It's just very unfortunate, especially here in
Really?
India.
I would
Yeah,
think I would think your
it
target
was part of our
customer.
marketing spiel. It was part of the marketing spiel, I'd say, a
Yeah,
couple of years ago.
yeah.
But it didn't resonate with a lot of people. And at some point, I didn't want it to come across as greenwashing. And so we just stopped talking about it. I think if you get it, you get it. There's no
I
stock here. I
For
mean,
me,
Mhm.
that's the best thing, really. I think I mean, I love the store, the concept, the colors, the friendliness of the staff. But when they told me that we don't have stock and we can't have the shirt for you, I was disappointed for a second. And then I thought, that's great. That means they don't waste materials and,
yeah.
they're saving the environment, yet it's a cool brand. They gave me the choice of doing it in store or I can do it online. So I had that whole full service. And I was thinking, I can't think of a brand in New York, John Varvatos or these big designers, they don't do that. So I really love the brand and the concept, and I really wanted to talk to you about that more than anything else.
Yeah, thank you. So you're right. I think it's one of those models that actually does good for the business while doing good for the environment as well, right? So as you mentioned, from a business perspective, no working capital, right? There's
Yeah,
no finished goods. We order fabric, we pay the vendor 60, 90 days out, but we collect the money from the customer up front, which just funds the fabric purchase. So we're
yeah.
working
And
capital
Akshay,
negative.
all the
Yeah,
D2C brands that you compete with, not in your specific space, but the ones that your investors are giving money to, they all carry stock and they have stock in 20, 30 warehouses. And their
yeah,
job is to get it in 1 hour, 1 day, the product to the customer. They still have the
yeah.
high AOV, they have the high margin, but you have a much more efficient business saving the environment. So you're a
Yeah.
double whammy.
Yeah, so that's the one thing. So there's no working capital, there's no markdown, so we never go on sale, we never go on discount because there's nothing to
Yeah.
Yeah.
discount, right? So
Yeah.
it's essentially all full price. So again, from a business perspective, it makes a lot of sense.
You don't do
And
Diwali,
then,
like get one, buy the other one 50% off. You don't give
so what we have is a 5+1 offer that we've had from pretty much day one. You buy five
5 plus 1.
shirts and you get the sixth one free. Um,
Okay.
and the reason
That's
we
a
do that
lot.
is because we want,
That's five
in terms
shirts.
of,
How
yeah,
many
so
people buy 5 shirts at a time, Akshay?
so now the last month, 50% of people who walked into the store took us up on the 5+1 offer.
What is the price point?
So
Average
it's
price
it's
point
yes,
of a
it's
shirt.
the median
In
the
dollars.
median price point, which is probably a better reflection, is
Yeah.
roughly 3,500 rupees for a shirt.
What's that in dollars?
50, 45, $50.
40,
Oh, that's
42,
very
45 bucks?
reasonable.
Yeah, something like that.
So someone who wants custom shirts, I could see them buying 5 and getting the sixth free.
Hmm.
I haven't
That's
worn
why
five
50% of
shirts in a
people do
year,
that.
Sabrina. Like 5 shirts is a lot. We don't wear shirts at work.
But people
I mean,
repeat every year though, Amit. They buy it and then they come back exactly 12 months later. I think we found that male buying patterns are less frequent. We also have a women's brand, right? But they women, they transact very frequently. With men, they buy enough that it lasts
Mm-hmm.
them for a year or at least 6 months at a time, and they come back and replenish, every
okay.
so
That's
often.
exactly what my husband does. We'll go shopping. He'll buy 5, 6 shirts, 5, 6 pants. He's good for a year or two.
Sabrina, your
You
your
know?
husband's an Indian role model. He's the
Yeah.
Indian perfect
And then
customer.
me, on the
Or
other
our next
hand,
ambassador.
I'm like, oh, what should I buy today?
Sabrina, your husband could actually be a model. He's got the body of a model.
I'll introduce him to Akshay. Let's see if they want him.
Yeah. You mentioned
So
Do
you
it.
do have a women's line. That was my next question.
Yeah, so we actually made a couple of acquisitions right around COVID.
Okay.
So when COVID hit, we knew very quickly that shirts as a category was, going to face some headwinds. There was no question
Hmm.
about that.
Yeah.
And if you remember, I mentioned at the time we were just doing shirts and we wanted to focus on that category.
Right.
for 7 years,
But
you mentioned.
obviously,
Yeah.
yeah, and so obviously we had to make a very hard rethink at that point in time. Um, and so opportunistically, someone introduced me to a founder of a brand called Korra, Korra, which was a denim
Okay.
brand started by a guy named Sham Sukramani, who had spent, I think, 30 years at Levi's working all over the world, moved back to India to start Korra, which is a made-to-measure denim concept with only
Okay.
sustainable materials, everything from the fabric to the thread, etc. But wasn't really able to scale that to the extent that he wanted to. And someone introduced us, we got into a chat, and next thing Korra is now a part of Bombay Shirt Company.
But denim
Um,
men's and women's or only women's?
so prior to the acquisition, they did both. Once we had them on board, we focused just on men's because it was just complementary to the male shirt business.
Okay.
And similarly, Pause, which was started by someone I'd known for a while, Neha. Actually, there's two Nehas. Was a brand that had been around for 5 years, had a very sort of niche following, in the big metro cities here in India. A lot of celebrities, etc., wearing it. And I, as a friend, would kind of help them out, consult to them over the years. And again, when COVID hit, they went through this existential sort of crisis, right? Where they came to me, basically asking me how I thought they should end up winding up the business, right? And I knew the kind of cachet they had as a brand, as designers, and I just felt that we couldn't let that happen, right? So again, took them on board. Yeah, and so now Pause sort of operates under our umbrella. So we use a
Okay.
lot of shared resources on the back end, whether it's customer service or finance and HR and accounts, right? And then the founders of the brands, which is basically Sham and Neha, know the product better than anyone else would, right? Sham having spent all those years at Levi's, Neha having spent pretty much all her life in the women's fashion space. And so it gave them the freedom to focus on what they're really good at, which is design, product, merchandise, etc. While we provided the umbrella that we already had for BSC and did all the grunt work for them, right? So that was the
Yeah.
Okay.
model during COVID. So both
So
acquisitions happened then.
I want to understand a couple of things. One, is Quora now individually run Quora.com, or is Quora's merchandise now inside BombayShirts.com?
So things have changed as of literally a month ago. So from the time we acquired the brand, which was early 2020, so 3 years subsequent, it operated as its own brand, but the distribution points were the same. So it sold through the Bombay Shirt Company stores as well as on the Bombay Shirt Company website.
Website. Okay.
Over the last three
Now,
years, we kind of realized that folks, because the name on the door is Bombay Shirt Company, the name on the website is Bombay Shirt Company. Building brands is not, as you'll know, is not cheap.
yeah,
It's expensive,
yeah.
right? But at the end of the day, we actually did a survey. A lot of people just thought they were buying Bombay Shirt Company jeans.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who were denim heads who really cared about what Cora stood for and the story behind it. But there were a lot of people who just wanted to get a pair of jeans,
Yeah.
and they liked the fact that it was custom made. So it was a
So
very
today, oh,
difficult decision. So
yeah,
as of 30 days ago, it's now sort of branded as Bombay Shirt Company, but everything that Cora stood for still exists behind the
but
scenes.
Quora as a brand
Um,
now, the website's discontinued.
so it was always part of the Bombay Shirt Company website. It was just the branding on the garment itself and the social media that was separate.
Yeah,
And we took that decision to bring it all together because it's
together.
just very expensive to grow
It
multiple
makes sense to
brands.
consolidate the brands under the one parent company.
How big is your team overall?
Yeah, so we're 100 people at the factory level, and this is folks on our roles. Obviously, we've got this hub and spoke model where not everyone's on our roles, and we've got external people that we work with. But
Okay.
100 people at the factory, across our 18 stores, about another 100 people, and
Okay.
then at the corporate office, which is basically everyone from design and merchandising and customer experience, HR, all of those functions, we're about 50 people. So all in all, somewhere between
So,
250 and 270 people.
okay. Great.
Yeah.
I wanted to know a little bit. I mean, I find your website incredible. Not only the
Thank
design, the UX, the UI. Is this done in-house? Is it done in India, or have you got some international, secret source that you want to share with the rest of the world?
So I mean, in the way that you see it today, it's done in-house. It's a labor of love. I think it's one of those things where we've just iterated a gazillion times since day one. I don't
Yeah.
think we're ever satisfied. I just think for the kind of business that we are, honestly, the conversion rates are just not what they would be if we were a cookie cutter business, just selling ready to wear apparel, for example. And
Okay.
so it really needs like a deep thought on the user experience for us to even get like some semblance of a conversion rate.
But what's the
And so
tech
it's
stack?
been years and years.
Is it like a shop
So the front
or
end is
like
actually Shopify. We took the call a
Shopify?
couple of years ago to build the front end on Shopify because basic
Yeah.
things like cart and checkout and plugins
Sure,
that are
sure.
available
Safe,
is not stuff
secure.
that I'm going to build from
Yeah.
scratch.
And the
The
back end?
back end, which is our ERP system that we built over the last 5 years, is very, very intricate. So most of the business on the back end is automated. Everything from fabric procurement to sizing algorithms to how we allocate like work to the factory and monitor every stage, of
Yeah.
the production process, supply chain. It's automated to the next level where very little human intervention is required. That's built on Java and Angular.
Oh wow. So it's not a
And
SAP Business One
oh,
ERP.
no, 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 that's built from
You built.
scratch. It was built from
Oh wow.
scratch.
That's
I
awesome.
would say from like 2017 to 22, like most of my days would go and my
On the
frustrations
tech,
would go in like building the tech stack out.
the back end.
We're
Sure.
now 10 years into the business and finally at a point where we're only rolling out incremental features. But until like a year and a half ago, it was just all about building out that infrastructure.
Yeah. Well, I think you seem to be on the right track, and I love the brand, and I'm sure it's going to continue to grow. But I got to ask you, Akshay, what does success mean to you, and has it evolved over time?
As an individual or as a company?
What if I tell you, Akshay, are you successful today? Do you sleep well at night? Do you feel like you're a successful person? What does that success definition mean to you? What do you strive to achieve?
I haven't really taken a moment to even think about this, to be very honest. I believe in, this might sound very philosophical, but I just kind of, when I go to sleep at night, I want to feel like I've done things with integrity, that I've put in my best effort and try to put out a product and experience that I could be proud of, right? We're not always going to get it right, especially in the kind of business that we're in. There are fine margins, but we tried really hard and did it with integrity. If I can build a brand where, I think, yeah, one of the ways that I kind of judge this is if I walk into a room, um, what would people in that room think about Bombay Shirt Company as a brand? If they were generally positive things to say, I think I feel like I could be proud of myself. And it's a very basic barometer. I don't really have massive aspirations when it comes
That's
to a number in terms of, I need to make
sure,
so much money
Yeah.
or I don't really care. I live a very comfortable life, thankfully, and there's no
sure.
number that's driving me. But it's that just a feeling and the vibe around how people perceive the brand. That's my barometer for success.
Mm, it's awesome.
I love that. Any role models or people who've inspired you along the way?
It
Yeah,
doesn't
over
have
the
to
years, I
be in the
mean,
design business or fashion business. It could be Elon Musk, it could be
Anyone?
anybody.
yeah, so I mean, the typical answers are folks like Elon Musk, right? Until he does something silly, obviously. But I think different things from different people. Like, there's honestly no cliched answer here. There's
Okay.
not one person who I follow. I
You,
read a lot
you
of autobiographies. I read tons of autobiographies. I actually don't read any fiction. It's always nonfiction. I
yeah,
listen to a lot of podcasts, etc. And so I just try and like get ideas from people. Just it could be anyone at any scale. Like someone who's recently started a
give us
business,
three
someone who's
names.
created a massive business.
Give us three
It's
names.
really
Three
hard. I
names
mean,
on
Elon
top of
Musk
your head.
is yeah, Elon Musk is definitely one of them, right? I think that just the
Mm,
ambition is something that I would strive to have. You know, there are so many businesses, even here in India. I'm sure you've heard of Zerodha, right? Guys have built a
sure.
massive business with no
Incredible.
funding, from
Phenomenal.
scratch, and
Yeah.
stuck to the fact that they were going to do it a certain way, right? Small
There's so many
team, no
Indians
churn.
today. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's a company and founders that I obviously really respect. Um, yeah, I think those are definitely, that's one international, that's one Indian for you. But,
Yeah.
Okay.
but yeah.
That's great.
Great. And how do you find balance? You're working a lot, you play football. How are you finding
Uh,
balance in your life?
a wife, kids. Can you tell us a little bit about your personal life?
Yeah, so I have an 18-month-old son. So
Congrats.
yeah, keeps us busy. But
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I became a father late, right? So I'm 41 now. So, I became a father when I was 40. And I probably should have done it earlier, but that's like the best thing in my life right now. So outside of work,
Mhm.
that's pretty much all I do. Uh,
Okay.
pre-baby, I did play a lot of sports. I don't as much as I used to. Just my body's not what it used to be, but that used to be the release back in the day. I think work is not as stressful as it once was in the early days, and those days I
Okay.
think sports is what really kept the balance. Now it's just hanging out with my family. I think that's yeah, just
Mhm.
brings some calm to my life.
That's
Well,
My wife,
depending on the night,
my
yeah.
wife, my wife always tells me that because I have a 4 month baby and I'm 47. So my wife
Right.
always tells me if our son, Aman, marries the age that I got married at, 36,
Hmm.
I might not be around. So anyway, that
Yeah,
is
no, I think about that a lot, but I guess my advice to people would be just better late than never, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I agree. But although nowadays, how many people do we know that don't want children or don't have children? And with what's
Yeah.
happening in the world, I don't even blame them anymore.
Yeah, yeah. My brother's one
Yeah,
of them, so yeah,
yeah, yeah. I know it's expensive, but it's more what's happening out there that I'm feeling more like. Anyway,
yeah.
rapid fire, Sabrina, you want to start?
Yeah, let's do it. So we ask everyone a few questions and just quick answer first thing that comes to your mind. Okay.
Sure.
Um, what has been your favorite age so far?
Wow, good question. Um,
I don't think he understood the quick answer thing, Sabrina.
yeah, sorry. I would say maybe 36-ish,
36. Why
36,
why
where
36?
business was stable, financially in a much better place, been married a few years, still young enough to play sports,
All right.
all of those things. Yeah.
It's at
I,
Pre-COVID,
40. As
definitely.
I was
soon
going
as
to
you
ask,
hit
married or not
40,
married?
oh,
So I was married. Yeah.
yeah.
My
I
wife's
said
going
as
to
soon
watch
as
this
you hit
podcast at some point.
40, the body changes. It like knows and it starts
Yeah.
slowing down,
Yeah. It's
right?
been all downhill since then.
Actually, my wife doesn't watch a single episode of any of my podcasts, so I understand what you're saying. All right, let's talk about fashion. Um, if you had to have dinner with designers, Marc Jacobs, Tom Ford, Versace, John Barbados, which one would it be and why?
I'd pick someone a little bit more like new age, mainstream, someone who's built something like in a relatively shorter period of time.
Give us a name.
Maybe the founder of Kith. Have you heard of the brand Kith?
I have
What's
not.
it?
He's built an iconic brand,
How do you spell it?
KITH.
No, I've
Keith.
never heard
It's
of
like
it.
yeah, I think his name is Ronnie Feig, if I'm pronouncing that right.
Okay.
They're based out of New York. They built this cult brand where they collaborate with the best brands in the world, and everything that they put out is like it
Awesome.
just sells out, right? So someone like that.
Great.
I'm glad you didn't say the Kardashians and Skims. So a little news clip. I don't know if you guys saw this.
It's
So
a
Kim
Kim
billion
launched
dollar brand.
Kardashian,
a men's product,
Yeah.
yeah.
well, it's yeah, Skims, and she just signed a partnership with the NBA here
Yeah,
to be. I
that's
was
right.
like,
Sabrina,
wow.
that's admirable. Respect that.
I mean, I do, but I just don't purchase any of their products. I can't
Yeah,
get
but
myself
Yeah,
to
they
do it.
signed
you
up a
don't need
bunch of
But
to.
I've
NBA
heard it's
players to
great.
like,
I've heard Skims are fantastic.
I heard it
So if
saved
it
somebody who got shot, that the bullet got stuck in the thing.
no
Yes, Sabrina,
in the
Google it.
Skims,
Yes, a black woman in America was shot, no surprise, and she was wearing such a tight Skims outfit that the bullet didn't go through all the way in thanks to the Skims, and it saved her life. It was all
no,
over
I need to look
Google
this up.
two
I'm gonna
months
look
ago.
this
I
up.
wouldn't BS you, my cousin. Okay,
Okay,
my turn, your turn.
next question. Your favorite fashion purchase?
wow. So I'm actually does do watches count? Because I'm a big watch
Yes,
guy.
and I
So
was wondering if you were gonna say that. Yeah.
that's my guilty pleasure. I don't spend money on too many things, but the
Okay.
one thing I do tend to splurge
Rolex,
on is
AP.
watches. I just bought myself, actually a month ago, I bought myself a Patek when I found out that our deal was going through. I thought I would reward myself with something big. That's probably my biggest purchase to date. So that's the
Very
one.
Which
cool.
model of Patek Philippe?
I actually have no idea.
Oh,
I'll send you a picture later.
no, no, it's
Just
okay.
looks good.
Which is the
Yeah.
brand? Is it Patek Philippe or is it Audemars Piguet? The one that says you never really own this watch.
Patek.
You just carry it for the next generation.
My son will inherit the watch. Yep.
Yeah, I think it's such a great line,
Mm-hmm.
such great branding.
Yep.
Advice you would give to a young entrepreneur just starting out, and if you could do it in one sentence, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I said pick something you love because the journey is going to be hard, so you best enjoy it.
Yeah, I like that. Very good.
We appreciate the time difference that we have between us. And I enjoyed learning about your story, and you answered all the questions in a very transparent manner, and I appreciate that. And when I'm in Bombay next, I will reach out and hopefully join you for a game or two.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It was super fun doing this, and yeah, man, I'll hopefully see you soon for football.
Yes. So loved learning about you, your journey, and Bombay Shirt Company. So everyone listening, check it out. And this has been another episode of Indian Explorers. We hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe and share with others.